G'day. It's time to down your unders. Review and dissection of content from some of the sharpest minds in the game. Hosted by Adam Camilleri. Art of War. Down Under.
G'day my lovelies and welcome to another episode of Art of War Down Under. My name's always Adam Camilleri. This is episode 234 and yes, you are hearing this a little bit later because I'm not releasing this on release day, because if I was to put out an episode on release day, I'd break my NDA. So we're not doing that. And due to that, you know what's coming out. This is likely coming out either the morning of or the day after the MFM and Balance Dataslate have dropped for your lovely, enjoyable new meta goodness. I'm joined by the gentleman who I always reach out to for these times because it gives me consistency to do this kind of overall balanced look down reviews with the same person, because it lets me track it time to time. And also just like spending time with the guy. His name's Matt Morosoli. Hello, mate.
Hey, mate. I'm doing pretty good. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty dang good myself. I got some games of 40k coming up. Got to get prepped for that ANZ TCU in about a month's time. We the Australian National Championships, essentially, with New Zealand sending over a couple of squads also. It's going to be fan-freaking-tastic, and should be some good Part 3 goodness for people over there too. Of course, two parts of the podcast. Come over at Patreon, Art of War Down Under, to get Matt and I's hot takes on the new meta, what we think the new meta is going to be looking like post-Slate, MFM, new detachments, and a Demons Index, in addition to, biggest winners and losers and stuff like that, or what new lists are going to look like for things that changed internally, which we're going to get to as well. But Matty, my boy, hot take on the slate.
I think it's good. I think for the most part, they made the game better, and that's normally pretty good.
I think they went a little too hard in some places, but literally in one place, I can definitely point to where I said they went a little bit too hard on the nerf bat, because it was a faction I didn't think was toxic. I thought it was very good and was very beatable. And we'll get to it when we get to it. But yeah, I think they went too hard in one particular place. But apart from that, I think this is a very good slate.
Yeah, I know we normally sort of rank them at the end, but I think I look at this and I think games of 40k are better with these rules than they were before. On the whole,
I think so.
Right? You go to an event, I think more people have a good time. So I think on the whole, it's a good change.
And look, the vast majority of factions, guys, for those people who maybe are just catching up, the vast majority of factions are untouched in this slate. And the majority of changes, with the exception of the one big one I talked about, are mostly buffs, are mostly things to increase rather than be punitive, which we always love to see. And let's kick that off. So first and foremost, 0 core rules changes. Not a single core rule has been changed, which I'm very happy to see, because those are the things that usually cause the biggest upheavals for the player base. And definitely the casual competitive player base are always gnashing their teeth about how the core rules change and then everything changes. And it's a whole thing. If you're not really strapped into the 40k roller coaster, the core rule changes are the most jarring pieces. But take it away with the first of the faction changes, my dude.
Yeah, so a bit of a backpedal here on the previous Sisters nerfs. So you get a few more Miracle Dice now. So they've changed the gaining Miracle Dice for units that die to be every time a unit from your army is destroyed. So it's back to pretty much where it was originally, so the first time. Whereas you get one at the start of each battle round. You don't get one every player turn, so it's a little bit less than it was in Peak Sisters. But you do now get one every time a sister unit is destroyed, and it's not at the end of the phase. It is immediately. So every time a unit's destroyed, you'll get one straight away. That's a good change. Helps meta a little bit.
It might be the single most significant buff in this whole slate, because of the fact that Sisters was like the best or the worst or second worst faction in the game on current metrics. They were completely abandoned by the player base. So I think this might be one of the most significant changes in the slate, because I think this will bring Sisters back to relevance. I don't think it's going to shoot them back to top tier or where they were before, because like the other part of the coin was having so many Miracle Dice and then also having the Triumph with all their abilities and all that stuff, really juicing up their detachments. But yeah, you'll have a good amount of Miracle Dice now. It's a great change. I'm all for it. Custodians.
The best thing about this, though, right, is that it doesn't make Bringers any better because they've kept all the nerfs Bringers in there. But it does mean that the other 4 detachments that exist probably look a little bit better by comparison. So I think it's really interesting
100%.
Based on that. Sorry to interject there.
No, you're absolutely fine. I think their Grommus attachment looks a whole lot better, because all of that was powered by Miracle Dice, and you just didn't freaking have any before, so you couldn't even consider it. And now I think, plus some points changes that we'll see in about half an hour, I think Sisters will be an exciting army to play again, which is everything we want for him. Adeptus Custodes, unfreaking changed. Adeptus Mechanicus, unfreaking changed. Eldari. See, I expected there to be 0 changes here for Eldari because of how new the codex was, or like a whole page. And we got 1 change.
Don't worry,
Now,
there's a whole page of changes coming. They're in the other PDF, mate.
Yeah, it's the secret page that we can't talk about yet. No, I'm lying. We don't have that page. But Eldari, Azaman's Hand of Surian ability, which was formerly that you get anti-infantry 3+ and devastating wounds with a damage characteristic of 3 on your bloody twins, is now anti-infantry 5+. And good me oh my, Azaman sucks now. I think he's quite ordinary now.
Do you think so? I actually think he's still good. I think this is reasonable. I think this is like when you go on a really big roller coaster and then you go on a small roller coaster, you're like, oh, that was a bit shit. But it was only terrible because you just went on a massive one.
That's fair.
This is actually still very good. Let's be real here, right? It's a third of your hits that get through 3 damage dev wounds.
Yeah, and then you have a couple of aspect token flips as well, if you wanted to.
For sure. Like, it is worse, right? Like, there's no getting around that it is worse. I think he does the same job.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't kill. So he formally killed any infantry unit in the game. Formally, like he just straight up murked any infantry unit in the game. I've heard tale of him like killing 8 out of 10 possessed with dev wounds, just like pop dead because of sustained hits and using the flipper 6 on the sustained hits and the hit roll and stuff like that. And then real ones from Aspectos. I've heard of him doing like obscene things. He's not going to do that anymore. But like if you want just Asuman to be like those 5 JPIs must die, he's just got it. It's just done. So yeah, maybe you're right. I had him as like second or third best aspect, like a Phoenix Lord previously, and now I think he's a little bit further down. So, but he's still takeable. He's not Mugen. He's no Mugen. Rah.
Yeah, but like, should he be good enough to just walk up and murk a whole unit of infantry? No, but should he come in and kill a bunch of them and like your unit kill a bunch more and then like I don't know. I feel like a unit of Avengers and Azaman should walk out and kill like 5 or 6 possessed. Right? I feel like they should reliably do that. They shouldn't kill 10. Like, let's be real. They shouldn't be killing 10. So I think this is good. This is a good a good balance.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen it go to 4+ and see if it's still a problem before they go to 5+, because it feels like they jumped over a thing that could have been good enough to keep him more relevant. But we'll see what comes out in the wash.
Sure.
Your turn. Astra freaking Militarum copped some significant changes, massive changes. Only to 1 detachment though.
Yeah, almost all Bridgehead. There is 1 actual data sheet change, but so Bridgehead, primarily the firing zone rules. This is the detachment ability. You no longer get +1 to wound. You get +1 to hit when you drop. Which is
my God,
a massive change.
Huge nerf, massive nerf.
Yeah,
second biggest nerf in the book.
Yeah, so it is and it isn't, right? Like I guess the thing is you already had access to +1 to hit through orders, but then you didn't want to be ordering that. You wanted to be ordering first rank, second rank. So this does let you hit more often. It actually probably increases your damage into some things a little bit more than the +1 to wound does. It does mean you struggle with the higher toughness vehicle, that sort of thing, right? Like before it was great to drop and shoot 1 million hotshot las guns and have +1 to wound and you could still kill a rhino. Now you can't really do that. Should you have been able to do that before? Probably not. Honestly. No. You really shouldn't have been able to do that before. So this is a good change, but it's big roller coaster, small roller coaster syndrome, right?
Yeah,
it's like, this would be great if you never played with +1 to wound already.
So I'm of the opinion that this is totally fine. Like, if this doesn't make Bridgehead a bad detachment, Bridgehead is still a phenomenally good detachment. May no longer mean that Bridgehead is arguably the best detachment. Plus, because there's another change coming as well. I think this is totally fine because it was dumb for me to say, is there a unit in the game I can put on an objective that 15 Scions can't kill? And the answer was no. They legitimately like outside of a Titan, like an actual like Adeptus Titanicus model, the answer was kind of no. You had to have like 3 or 4 stacking buffs, like, and all sorts of other redundancies that are giving Feel No Pains and minuses to hit and wound and like minuses to damage. And there wasn't a single unit that I could name off the top of my head that it was feasible in a competitive game to actually have that unit on the table. Because 15 Scions off the Deep Strike was just stupid. It killed
Fate
God.
Influence about 30% of the time.
About 30%. Yeah, baby.
Yeah,
That's
I'd
better than
rather
most.
not.
Better than most. Sorry, you go.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, yeah. And then we have the change to the firing hot strats. This is the +1 strength and AP. They've just tightened that, so you need to be within 12 inches now to get the benefit, and they have bumped it up to 2 CP.
Yep. So no longer can you drop at 12-inch range and just get +1 strength, +1 AP, and have your hot shots, actually do enough damage to kill people anyway. Now you'll need to be within 12 inches to get a plus strength, plus AP, and it's going to cost you 2 CP. And where this comes up big time is because it's very hard to trail your tail all the way back to Creed to make it cheaper off the deep strike. It's going to be actually a lot more difficult logistically to try and offset those 2 CP, and you're going to find yourself actually spending those two, in totality more often. And also, if you ever get to try and kill a Calidus, it's actually going to cost 3 CP and be not worth it. But hey, you should probably kill it anyway. Combat Engineers.
Yeah, you want to take this one? Because I don't know what this unit does.
So Combat Engineers formerly had a remote mine ability, which read that you picked a unit within 12, and that unit would take on a 3+ D6 mortal wounds, and then a bunch extra if they were a vehicle. And now that is 9 inches and visible, and you take D3 mortal wounds on a 3+, or 2D3 if you're a vehicle or fortification. And you just know that fortification part's going to come up, baby. That's power. But yeah, so this took the trifecta change of lowering the range, needing visibility, and way less mortal wounds. It's D3 instead of D6 on a 3+. And because of that, I actually don't rate Combat Engineers anymore. I think they're a bit of a struggle unit now. People were taking 3 units at times because they got a free grenade as well, solely. They're on their data sheet abilities, they get to use a grenade strap for free. So they would come out grenade and then 3+ D6 mortal wounds somebody. And then flip an objective at the same time. And it was a very good combo. And now they will not be doing anywhere near that.
That's probably good. I think anything that does mortal wounds from out of line of sight is pretty bad in general. I think it's pretty dumb. So
I wish they brought their points down to account for this, because they didn't bring their points down at all in the MFM, just foreshadowing. And I wish they did, because now I see Combat Engineers of they need to be dirt sheet now because they don't do anything.
Yeah, again, I don't see why I would spend my points on this unit now. But again, I think it's probably healthy, right? I don't like
it is
out of line of sight mortal wounds. I don't like things like bomb twigs.
So
in terms of game health, so this is good.
So my issue is it's 95 points, I believe, for 10 of these guys. Let me quickly see if I can find them. 95 points for 10 of these guys, and you could just pay 95 for 10. You could just pay 15 more points and have Kazagan, which have quadruple. They have essentially the same mortal wound ability with a shorter range, arguably, but quadruple the freaking damage output from special weapons, better save, better AP, better standard guns, and better ballistic skill, weapon skill. It's a bit bad that they didn't put down the points on them. But anyway, Blood Angels unchanged. Sorry, suffice to say, Astra Militarum. I'm very surprised they didn't touch any of the other detachments because I've already talked to quite a few Astra Militarum players who are in the know, John Lennon and stuff, and he's like, Guard made it out of this scot-free. They did not do anywhere near enough to Guard. The Guard is absolutely fine. Will still be a top team.
Yeah, I think Guard is still the army is just as good as it was before. Just as good. Maybe not. Maybe that's an over exaggeration. The army does the exact same thing that it did before. It does, right? Yeah. It does slightly less damage. Oh no, my cheap unit of infantry dudes doesn't kill anything it looks at for free. Now I've got to use a bit more of my brain power. Sure, that kind of sucks, but the army does the same thing, right? It still functions the same way.
You just probably do not just all in Unga Bunga Scions anymore. You have to take some legitimate concessions to taking down heavily armored targets or high toughness. Blood Angels is unchanged. Black Templars unchanged. Chaos Knights unchanged. Chaos Space Marines unchanged. Chaos Demons, the most changed.
Wow.
Specifically one detachment, which they decided was no longer allowed to play the game. The Legions of Excess might as well have been deleted in my mind, and has been... I don't know why they hit it this hard, because they hit it from every side. They got the full holistic utter nerf into the ground, and in my opinion, completely killed them. And
was this winning? Was this actually winning?
It won one large event in the UK. I can't remember if it was it wasn't Manchester, it was one before. But they beat Inez on top table one, and as far as I can tell, it's the only big event that they've won. And I did not rate this as a top detachment. I rated it as a very fun, very fluffy, very good detachment that was very beatable because it had a lot of holes. And it could have taken 1 or 2 nerfs and would not be, because I assume there was a lot of mid-table annoyance at this, because if you are ill-equipped for this army, it will run over you and you will feel like you didn't get to play 40k. It would be a feel bad to get run over by this army if you didn't understand it, study it, and build ways to kill it. But once you did, it was actually relatively easy to beat. And so I didn't rate it that high.
Yeah, I think the first time everyone played this, the mortal pass off strat, keeping the fiends safe.
Yeah.
Probably was a bit jarring. There are cool things you can do with it. There are things like where you can, gambit with 2 units and have them both fight second. And then when they kill one thing, you pass the wins off to the second unit, you pull yourself out of combat, and you can
Correct.
There's cool stuff you can do, right? But I think once you really got your head around that, I don't know, the army felt very linear both to play and to play against. So I played this a bunch when I was deciding on my uprising army. I was trying to decide which flavor of demons I wanted to play. And this felt super linear to me, and it felt like it had super obvious flaws.
Correct.
And I'm kind of surprised they've hit it this hard. So
destroyed it, dude.
Yeah.
Destroyed.
We've been alluding to it, right? So let's maybe start with the actual detachment rule. So the seductive gambits that used to give you reroll hits and wounds if you gave up your fight first has been changed to reroll a wound roll of 1 and hit roll and
wound roll, 1.
That's right. And then you get to reroll hits and wounds of 1 if you're in your shadow. Sorry, it's worded a little bit awkwardly there.
No. So it's reroll 1s to hit and wound always if you give it up, and if it's in your army's shadow, you get 4 rerolls to hit and reroll 1 to wound.
Sorry, I've switched that completely. It's worded very, very long, very difficult. But they've done that. They've changed Thieves of Pain, which is the mortal wound pass-off. So they've excluded vehicles. Again, I don't think anyone was really passing wounds off to a soul grinder, but if you wanted to,
we thought about it.
I think people were playing the soul grinders just because with reroll hits and wounds, they were kind of
they
decent.
were kind of good. Yeah, they were not bad.
So I guess it didn't hurt to pass off 5 or 6 wounds to a soul grinder if you knew it was going to live. You can't do that anymore. And they've made it so that you need to be within 9 and visible. So they've tightened the range up, and they've made it you have to be visible to pass the wounds off.
And that's the death knell. That's the death knell.
That's a problem, right? Because now, if you need to be visible to the unit that is getting wounded, that means your opponent can just shoot that unit.
Exactly right. You just kill the demonettes, whatever. Yeah. Kill the Seekers, it doesn't matter. You're no longer hiding your wound battery behind an L while you push out the Fiends on the other side. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. And then lastly, overwhelming excess stratagem is been changed when selected to your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase. Just over enemy units selected as targets. To the end of the phase, each time model unit makes an attack. The target's unit -1 to hit roll. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that change. Who cares? Completely unnecessary because they destroyed the detachment. Yeah,
that doesn't really matter given the other changes.
Correct.
Yes, and unfortunately, I think the demon players will be putting their Slaanesh demons away for a little while now. That was good to see them on the table for 2 months.
It was. And when we get to the MFM and we get to other things, you'll find that unfortunately Slaanesh is taking a couple more L's this round of balance. And I think it is mostly unfairly. If they literally just did the Thieves of Pain strat change, that was enough. That was already enough to make them take away the biggest feel-bad interaction there. Anyway, moving on. Dark Angels unchanged. Death Guard unchanged. Deathwatch unchanged. Drukhari unchanged. Genestealer Cults unchanged. Grey Knights, a interesting and significant change. Warpbane Task Force Detachment, the Hallowed Ground detachment rule, now requires visibility to get the rerolls. So each time model and Grey Knight units from your army makes an attack that targets a visible target, reroll hit roll of 1. And if the unit is a purifier and within hold the ground, you can reroll it. So it won't be any more. Essentially, this is a nerf to perks. So essentially, it was in that detachment, you would have interceptors and Grey Knights going uppy downy. You'd have 3 units of purgation squads with Psy Cannons sitting in your DZ, uppy downing around your DZ if they need to stay out of charges and stuff. And you'd have them re-rolling to hit, clearing everyone's screens to open up paths for your uppy downy to get deeper and deeper into your opponent's lines. And it worked like a treat. It worked pretty good, especially into a bunch of the light screening armies that you wield Gretchen, gargoyles, guardsmen, stuff like that. Now that's completely gone. So Purgs, I think, if you were playing perks, get them out of your lists. Your list is still fine. Perks just ain't it anymore.
I like perks, but I agree. I think it's pretty dumb when you get shot by all of the indirect with full rerolls, right? Like, I don't think that army was necessarily amazing. It wasn't like, I'm getting tabled by indirect Grey Knights. It didn't feel super bad like that. It felt really annoying. It was one of those things like, this is an annoying game to play. I'm like, this doesn't feel great. They can just spike and kill stuff they shouldn't kill, but it's a lot of shooting from out of line of sight with rerolls. It's just annoying. And like, sure, this is strictly a nerf, but I feel like GK players will be fine. I feel like there's plenty of other things to spend your points on, and your army's still fine.
Yeah, army's fine. Like I said, the perks were like probably a feel bad thing, and it's just GW is being consistent. And anytime anyone takes any number of indirect, you can expect it to get whacked. very next slate. Imperial Agents unchanged. Unfortunately, still don't have an army rule. Imperial Knights unchanged. Necrons, Leagues of Votann under the Imperial Knights. So their army rule has changed. So in addition, at the start of the battle, select 2 units from your opponent's army. Those units start with the battle with 2 judgment tokens, and then their Oathband detachment has been changed to give out 2 additional 2 judgment tokens. So you give out 2 more units that have additional units from your opponent's army, depending on the battle size. 2 for Strike Force 2,000 points games, and they start with 2 judgment tokens on them. So you still get your 4 if you play Oathband, but it just means that they can create a detachment in the future that is takeable over Oathband because they decided to take, because Oathband had like its detachment rule and then giving out 4 double judgment tokens as well. They'd have to literally give them the Ynnari detachment to get them to not play Oathband as it stood.
Yeah. I don't know. This just feels like juggling for the sake of juggling. I don't actually think this functionally makes any difference to Votann players. Like, really, it feels like adjusting things for the sake of adjusting things. But I don't know. I don't think it really does anything functionally.
I think it feels like future-proofing to me. That's all it is. Yeah. It feels like future-proofing so that they can balance or design detachments in the future, possibly with the codex already being written, and make things in the codex actually relevant. Because as it sits right now, like I said, they'd have to give you Ynnari to make you not take Oathband with how much value it gives. It does surprise me that they did this for Votann, but they didn't do this to the other army that has the similar thing. Because Plague Company for Death Guard is the one where I would like to see the auras taken off the detachment and put on the army rule so that you can make detachments that are relevant.
I feel like if rumors are anything to be believed, that book is close enough to release. They probably just don't want to mess with it too much. That's why.
That's fair.
Again, I with no inside information at all, I'm under the impression that's sometime in the next couple of months when we're not too far away from it. I feel like maybe they're just leaving that. Maybe this just suggests that Votann's a little bit further down the line, and maybe they.
That's true. Yeah, that could be.
I genuinely don't know. I know some people like to pretend they know the answer and don't actually know, but I genuinely don't know when it's coming out. But I think they might just be not messing with Death Guard and T-Suns too much because from things I've heard on the internet, they are not too far away.
Fair. Like I said, Necron's unchanged. Then we come to Orcs. My dude, tell us about this.
There's only one change. Yeah, there is only one change.
Surprisingly.
Weird, yeah. So they have changed Tank Busters, Bomb Squigs to require line of sight. They've clarified that it's only one. It still is D3 mortals on a free up. However, they haven't adjusted Breaker Boys. And the fact that they've adjusted the wording on the Tank Busters almost implies you can use both at the same time on the Breaker Boys because they haven't changed that one. Yeah. I feel like it's an unintended miss. Someone's just missed Breaker Boys from the thing. And I imagine this is, again, I imagine most heroes will just say, no, they're all the same thing. Use Bomb Squigs as per the update. But it is odd they've done one of them and not the other one here.
Yeah, I think it's just a miss. Although I'm okay with Breaker Boys being good. I think it's okay for Breaker Boys to be good. It's less okay for Tank Busters to be good than Breaker Boys. At least they have to declare a charge.
The point's whack and it still doesn't matter. So
it still doesn't matter. They're still like auto takes. All right, Zoli, we have one additional change here that I think was added late to this because it wasn't in the original document that we were sent, but there was a change to the rule for the tactical brigade. And I'm talking about this because it was included in the email I got sent, but not included in the document I got sent. So it may have been included in the one that got sent out to all of you. And if you're hearing this, it's because I told Seamus to leave the segment in. But this one pretty much says that you don't get 2 orders in tactical anymore. You only get the single order, and you still have to do the leadership test. And if you fail, you take the mortals, more kind of akin to a Dark Pact for Chaos Space Marines. But either way, you still get the order. You just don't take the breaking heads or not. Is that a significant change in your mind, Sully?
Yeah, 100%. I think it was really common, especially in like the shooting matchups for tactical, just to take +1 to hit and stealth and cover. Yeah. And it's a little bit rude. Like it's a bit rough when the Orc army is shooting you better than you shoot them because they just order themselves for stealth. I think, again, for most of the time, like, this is not going to matter. I think if you're playing tactical, functionally, it's not going to change how you play the game. You just kind of have to pick between, do I do more damage or am I more tanky? And realistically, that army just wants to do more damage. That army wants +1 strength on the combat units, and it wants +1 to hit on the shooting units. But there's definitely going to be times where you say, yeah, you know what, I hit good enough. Let's just take stealth and cover, and you can put stealth and cover on the breaker boys, and they still have native reroll charges, so you don't need the reroll charge there. It's significant. It makes you think. I think it was a little bit too egregious to pick double order every time on the old.
I think so.
Previous version of the rule.
Yeah, I think it's totally fine. All right, on to Space Marines now. I think a lot of us expected something to be done about the bloodless angels and Crusaderless Templars and all that other stuff. But the Oath of Remnant Army rule has been changed to read as thus. You can, of course, reroll the hit roll. If you're using a Codex Space Marines detachment and your army does not include 1 or more units with Templars, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Death Watch, or Space Wolves keyword, add 1 to the wound roll. So this is obviously a great change because Bloodless Angels was a dum-dum, and it was very obviously, to many of us, not as intended, but it was just a loophole that people were making use of while they could. Do you think this is going to significantly shake up Marines, mate?
No, not at all.
Me either. That's not going to change much. In fact, I think I was one of the few out there, and Inez used to have a crack at me, but I thought Bloodless Angels was worse than just regular Blood Angels. Genuinely. I rated Jack Harpster's list at LVO more than I rated Inez's. Inez's Leicester or whatever it was, super major list. But yeah, horses for courses. I think on their terrain over there, UKTC, it might have been a bit better.
Yeah, I'm surprised they let Ultramarines keep the
dude. So,
to be honest,
so this is I am of the opinion, that it should, if they're going to let Ultramarines keep the +1 to wound, I don't see why you restrict it from everybody else. Like, straight up. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that they should because I actually don't want them to, but I will argue with you that Ultramarines are just as good as an Ultramarines Gladius with +1 to wound is just as good as a Dark Angels Gladius with +1 to wound. It kind of is the same, and a Blood Angels Gladius. And as long as you make it so they can only use the the Codex Space Marines detachments, I think they should be able to get it. If you're going to keep it with Ultramarines, I don't see the difference.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised because it was obviously the best place for it. It just feels like all of the best Marine armies that came out of this that were using this oath, obviously Death Watch is a bit of an outlier because Death Watch was kind of good on its own merit. But all of the best armies that came out of the +1 to wound oath change were Ultramarine armies.
Yeah, only Ultramarines.
The best ones were all Ultramarine armies, and I don't really like that. I think I don't understand why they would just let you keep that. I feel like this was designed to reward you for playing an unnamed Space Marine army. It's kind of that's what it felt like the design was for. And then everyone was like, "Oh, let's just slap it on, Marnius and Marnius is good with +1 to wound." Well, yeah. He's pretty good with +1 to wound.
It's so funny that they put so much work into trying to make Lysander relevant, trying to make Ironfather Pharaohs and Shrike and Khan relevant, and then we're just but we're giving Ultras +1 to wound. And the whole community was like, Shrike, never heard of him. Lysander, whatever. None of it was relevant. Immediately irrelevant. And it's just not going to change. Stormlands Task Force took a minor nerf in the fact that their reactive move stratagem, Wind Swift Evasion, can only be used on infantry or mounted units now. Used to be able to use it on a Storm Raven or any old tank that you would like. And I know John Lennon is pissed off about it because he was the only one who was using it on a Storm Raven to good effect. And so they can't do that anymore. Now, there is a very significant change here Not the ones with the Lieutenant and Phobos armor who now can no longer charge after their move again.
Thank God for that, by the way.
Oh, dude,
that thing is dumb.
World saver.
I actually don't care. That thing is stupid. Every time I see that in someone's army, I'm just like, you know what? You're having a laugh, mate. That
You're having
thing
a giggle.
Stupid.
It was stupid. Uriel freaking Ventress, Master of the Fleet ability, giving Deep Strike, is now restricted to Phobos, Gravis, or Tacticus Adeptus Astartes infantry units from your army. And I have to ask the question, why now? Why not 2 years ago? Because all they did here was kill Vanguard. The only Vanguard we're taking now is a bad Raven Guard list that I have sitting in my app that is nowhere near as good as an Ultramarines Gladius or anything else. It's not a bad Marines army, but that's the only Vanguard you can take now, and it's just min-maxing, 18 Inceptors, because you can now no longer, obviously, use the Deep Strike on Devastator Centurions, which is a colossal nerf to the Vanguard. And yes, I have to ask again, why now? Why not 6 months ago? Why not 18 months ago? Like, it's just buck wild to me, mate. What do you think of it?
Yeah, it's odd that they did this now. I think, look, I think personally when the previous data slate came out, so when they first gave Marines +1 wound, I thought Vanguard Ultramarines was probably the best army in the game. I think that at that point in time, I think a good pilot with a bunch of reps, you need to play that army a lot to be good at it. I thought that was the best army of the game at that point in time. Now, look, I think we've progressed a little bit past that, and there are some other very good armies in the meta, and there's probably some stuff that is maybe marginally better. But it's weird to nerf it now when it wasn't really the problem. You know what I mean? Yeah. It wasn't really the big meta bully like I thought it was going to be, whatever it was, 3 months ago, and we had the last one of these.
So, not last WCW, the WCW before that, John Lennon took that list to second place at last WCW. So not last November, the one before. That's when Vanguard commenced its existence, essentially, in the collective conscious of the meta. And yeah, I just gotta wonder, like, why did they wait this long? Just don't get it. All right, Space Wolves unchanged, Tau unchanged, Tyranids unchanged, World Eaters unchanged. That's it. That is your balanced data slate done.
I have to double check Tyranids. There's almost always one irrelevant change in there, but
it's true. It wouldn't be a slate without one irrelevant change. Like the Morlock moves 1 extra inch or some crap. Yeah. But yeah, no, there's no changes. All right, that is the slate. Time for the hibbity hot takes, mate. And yeah, they just decided that Bridgehead I think Bridgehead got accurately dealt with. I think that is exactly the right amount of Bridgehead nerf we needed for the game. I question why they didn't reach out and touch some other things, because I feel like Hammer of the Emperor is now just obviously a pivot for the people who take that as a feel bad, and I think is just as powerful as where Bridgehead is now, and possibly just as toxic for the opposite reasons. And yes, Slaneshi Demons, absolutely freaking destroyed. Just absolutely destroyed out of nowhere.
Yeah, see you later. It was nice to see Demons on the table for, like I said, 2 months.
Yeah, well, in those 2 months, you did happen to win Uprising with Zinj Demons. Demons, baby.
Yeah, somehow.
I remember you laughed your ass off the first time you saw this, and I'm like, hey, they don't know. They don't know the power.
That army went down 80 points, Adam.
I know. We're in the Shroud. We're in Bellacor's Shroud, mate. They can't see us. We're not within 18 inches.
That's actually true. JW doesn't know Australia exists.
They don't know Australia exists. Our meta goes untouched. Yeah.
We send product here and we turn it into terrible army lists, right?
It's true. They don't work anywhere else. Actually, no, they work very well elsewhere. What are we talking about? All right. Moving on to the data slate out of 10. How would you rate it?
7.
Yeah, I think it's a 7.
Good, but not great. The game is better, but I don't think it's one of the better data slates.
Nah, it's because there was not much to change, I think. Because there was actually not that much to change. It's a pretty minimalist data slate. I mean, it's in the past, it's taken us like over an hour to review just the slate, and this one took us 34 minutes because it just shows you how many factions didn't get touched. And no calls rule changes to really mix up how people play the game.
Yeah.
All right, I'm the same as you, 6 or 7. It's like above a pass. All right, but jumping into the MFM, which is kind of the same. It's kind of a bit of the same. Most factions untouched, but that's the kind of game we're in at the moment. First up, Adeptus Sororitas players will be very happy because along with their army getting one of the most significant buffs army rule-wise, they also only saw reductions in points. So 10 Arco-Flagellants is down 10 points. Sacrosanths are down 1 point per model on a 5, but then they're down 2 points per model on the 10, which is really going to help you if you decided to pivot into that new Grotmus attachment, because a unit of 10 will only cost you 130, which actually feels pretty good. Like,
good. Yeah, good unit. Yeah.
Dominions somehow went down 10 points, which is fantastic. So they're 115.
Weird. That one's weird. That one's
very weird to me.
That makes sense, but yeah, that one's weird.
Repentia went down 1 point per model for 5 and 10. Seraphim also went down 1 point per model for 5, but then went down 20 points. So 2 points per model for the 10, so 170 there. And then Zephyrim saw 1 point per model for 5 and 10. And how do you think Sisters came out of this? Because I think they came out of it pretty good.
Yeah, I think Sisters are fine. They're much better than they were before. The Miracle Dice generation is a bigger change than the actual points costs are. I think the Seraphim change in particular, I think they realise that they've kind of removed Bringers from the game and they don't need a point Seraphim based on only being in Bringers.
Correct.
So this is probably a reasonable points cost for a big Seraphim brick now. And for what it's worth, they actually just reverted. So like they put the 10 up before and then didn't put the 5 up. So this change actually just brings them back in line, back to 17 points a model. It doesn't actually, they haven't specifically buffed the 10 man. They've just undone the nerf from the last one.
The Dominions one is, I think, the one that's just like every Sisters player is just going to be like, oh, sweet, I got 20 points automatically. Even if you weren't taking any of these other units, and some armies weren't, that's a minimum like 20 points straight back into your list. Because I think every Sisters army had 10 Dominions, like everyone.
Every Sisters army has 20 Internalators. There's actually no reason not to take it. Scouting transports are one of the most valuable things you can just put into your army, and now the package is 10 points cheaper. So why not?
All right, Custodians, tell us about it.
Yeah, so Alea's down 10. The Blade Champ is up 10. Custodian Guard are down 10 in both unit sizes, so down 10 both in the 4 and the 5. Wardens are up 10, both in the 4 and the 5. Knight Centura is down 15. The Shield Captain in all configurations, so normal, Alaris, and Dawn Eagle are all down 10 points.
It's nice.
And then we have a couple of dreads that are up. So the Venerable Contemptor and the Talamon are both up 10. And there is a single enhancement. I don't know what this does, Adam, and I'm hoping you know what this does, but the Augury Uplink is plus 10 points in the Solar Spearhead.
That's the Father Feel No Pain. So you'll be adding 20 points to the Juicy Telemon. This one's really weird to me because I look at this and I'm just like, well, Wardens are up, but Guard are down. Blade Champs are up, but Shield Captains are down. I feel like you're going to write a list and it's almost just going to wash out. I thought you're going to end up with the same amount of stuff in your army. Yeah, so the current Solar Spearhead list is definitely going to go up because it had that list had one unit of Custodian Guard, and that was which is in that list is the only thing that was going to go down. And then it had a Blade Champ with Wardens, so it goes up. You've got 20 points added there, and then 3 Venerable Contemptors and 3 Telemons with the Augury Uplink. So you're adding 70, 80, 90 points, and you're only down by 10. So you're going to be up about 80 points on that best list. And I feel like it's kind of fun.
People are playing 6 dreads deserve it, to be honest.
Yeah, dude. It's 6 dreads and 2 Caladius and like one Warden package. It's a good list. It's quite a good list.
Tell me that you like mayonnaise on sandwiches. That's the most boring thing I've ever heard of.
Bless you, sir. This is why we bring him on. He's just got the coldest of freaking takes. Love it. The Shield Captains all going down is quite relevant.
It's nice. Yeah. When you get to your new detachment review, I'm sure that you'll have some very interesting things to say about that. I think that's very cool. I think it's a good time for these changes for that, to be honest. Yeah,
totally agree. And I do think that I thought a Venerable Contemptor that for 160 that has 2 lives that essentially lives twice and is like phase locked on a 2+ was pretty good at 160 points.
Yeah, that's fair.
Into so many armies, like in teams, like you just pair into Tau and you're like, that you can't win. GG, man. You can't prime me off this primary.
Yeah.
Adeptus Mechanicus, Belisarius Call is down 15, and the Tech Priest Dominus is down 5 points. Oh, the game changes. The game changes, boys. That's the only changes for Adeptus Mechanicus. That's it. Moving on.
I predict we're going to look at the AdMech win rate now, and then in 3 months, and they're going to be exactly the same.
That's it. It's just ones and zeros. Adeptus Titanicus unchanged. Yay, who cares? Eldari. Now, I actually expected to see no changes here because the faction was so new. But we actually got a couple, and they're kind of relevant. So Dark Reapers are up 15 for 10. So the 5-man stayed the same. I would have liked to have seen the 5. If they're going to put up the 10, sure, that's fine. Maybe they don't have enough data yet for the 5-mans, but 15 points is not insignificant. You're paying 195 for 10 Reapers. Dire Avengers are up 5 and 10, so 1 point per model there. That plus the Aziman nerf is going to suck for people. Fire Dragons are up 2 points per model. So 10 and 20, depending on the size. Striking Scorpions went up 2 points per model on the 5-man, none on the 10-man, which I'm happy about. And then the Wave Serpent went up 10 points as well. So the current, Ynnari lists have pretty much copped maybe 20 points on their 2 units of Striking Scorpions, 1 Wave Serpent, and then their 3 units of 5 Fire Dragons. So they've gone up 30, 40, 50. They've gone up 60 points for that unit, for the full MSU Ynnari builds.
Yeah, I don't think this does very much. I think this does more to. I'm not even sure which army this really is like pinpointing, but I think it's just targeting stuff that's like marginally too cheap, right? So I think there's a world where multiple 10-man units of Dark Reapers at 180 were oppressive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not convinced that this matters. Like if you're taking 1 unit of 10, you're still taking 1 unit of 10.
Yeah,
I think if you're taking 1 unit of 6 Fire Dragons, or like 2 units of 5, you're still taking those. I think if you're taking your 3 units of Scorpions, you're still taking them. Like this doesn't look like it changes anything to me. I feel like it just squeezes the army a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe you lose a scoring unit somewhere. And maybe that's just enough to make people feel less bad about playing into it, right?
Yeah, well, so straight up, the Warlock Skyrunner is 45 points. And I knew a lot of people who were taking a single Warlock Skyrunner in their list just because it was incredible value. That almost, like, you're 15 points away. You drop an enhancement, you've like literally balanced the entire thing. You balanced the whole 60 points, and you've lost 1 model.
Yeah, I'm surprised Banshees didn't go up. I feel like everyone's got the army. That seems like a miss to me.
I'm kind of happy they didn't, because that's all they've got. That's the only, unless you're playing Ynnari, that's the only counter assault in the list. Like, you have to have Jane Zara and the Banshees. So I'm fine with them. Look, I would have been happy for Jane Zara to go up, but not the Banshees, or the other way around, one or the other.
Yeah, I'm interested in the rationale, right? Because like everyone's playing that unit. It's not like it's a niche thing. It's in like every army. So maybe they just think everyone's playing them and they're a good unit and they're costed fairly, and maybe that's the case. But I'm surprised to see, even like Avengers in both configurations go up, but Banshee's not. That's right.
That scratches my head that they. So this is one of the reasons I'm not convinced that the balance team and the points team talk, and that they're different people, because I would not have nerfed Azimuth and put up Dire Avengers.
Yeah, I agree.
You would just not do both of those things in good conscience. As well as when we get to the Slanesh Demon points, you would not do both of those things when you've already put it's really the stop they're already dead meme. Ynnari unchanged. The enhancements unchanged for Eldari. Ashtramil Lataram tells a story.
Yeah, look, so if you're a guard player and you were a bit upset at the first half of this podcast, I'm sorry, it doesn't get any better. I guess it's a little bit worse. All right, so we've got the Cadian Heavy Weapons Squad up 15. The Catachan Heavy Weapons Squad is also up 15, so they really don't like mortars, I'm guessing.
Literally, if you were a takeable indirect piece, you will get hit until you are no longer. That is the GW trajectory, and has been for like 6 months.
The Field Ordnance Battery is up 10.
Yep.
The Tempestus Command Squad is up 10, and Scions are up a point a model in all configurations, so your 15-man is up 20, which is in addition to the 20 or so that was up in the previous patch.
Yeah.
And then we have got the Bombast class Vox Array. That's the order everything, right?
It is, which is funny that they put it up 10 points, because it's no longer relevant. Because that was the way to double order all your scions at the same time. You no longer need to double order all your scions, because off the drop, you've already got the +1 to hit, which was the other order you were giving them. You were giving them first rank, second rank, and +1 to hit. You already get the +1 to hit off the drop, so you're actually just not taking this. It's irrelevant. You're actually saving 25 points.
I don't know. I would argue that now you use this
order for +1.
+1 save, right?
+1 save. Yeah, that's
fair,
the
35 points for +1 save on your whole army feels pretty good.
That's fair. That is fair. But then people will say, it's better if I've taken the extra plasma pistol and not the command rod, because I just need more gun now because my damage fell off. But yeah, it's up for debate.
That's also fair. I mean, you'd obviously, if you were going to take this, you would lean into the command rod, right? You would lean into the double order.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. But I think that it's not completely useless. But at the same time, it's a lot of points to now pay for a relic that is increasing your output when you've lost a lot of output.
Now, I would like to say what Soli said is correct for the Bridgehead players, but there is not a single freaking change to like the mainstay of any other archetype for guard. The fact that Rogel Dawn tank commanders didn't go up when they're 265, it's only 25 more points from a Rogel Dawn to a Rogel Dawn tank commander. That was wild to me. The fact they didn't go up at all was kind of crazy. At the same time, I think there was an argument to maybe drop 5 or 10 points off the Lehman Russ commander, because now it's like, why would I take the 235-point Lehman Russ commander when I can take the 265-point Rogel Dawn commander for 30 more points, just getting like 50% more tank and 50% more gun? It makes no sense. So there's a couple of things here, especially like Lehman Russ Demolisher, whose gun has now been significantly nerfed. There was a good argument to drop a couple of the Russes and up a couple of the Rogel Dawn variants. And then a bunch of other stuff. Like, be very happy to see Rough Riders go down to like 55 or 50 points for 5 models and stuff like that. Bulgren, they can't be ordered. Happily chuck them down a couple of points.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of things they could have done here, but I'm pretty happy. I think guard players will be relatively happy, because I think the Bridgehead players still going to play Bridgehead. Like, this doesn't change much, because a lot of the Bridgehead players were playing engineers, and you're not going to play engineers. You're going to take those out. That's going to easily offset all the points differences, and you're still going to have some points left over to play with.
Yeah, I'm just going to be honest, right? Armies like this are built around the Scion data sheet being busted, right? Like, they're built around that unit being really good. And the rest of the army is just stuff to score and stuff to apply pressure and stuff to set in objectives. And you can always find things that will do the same job for less points. So they're going to be less good, right? Like, 3 Ogryn is worse at sitting on an objective than 3 Bulgren are, right? There's always going to be like a downgrade. This doesn't, again, change what's in the army. The army is still going to have your 3 bricks. If you want to have tank commanders or dawn commanders, it's going to have that. It's going to have whatever your configuration of scoring or Kazakhstan or whatever it might be. It's going to have all of those things. Some of the things are going to be worse at doing the job than they were before, but the army is going to play in the same way, right? So this just makes it less, hammer nail and more, well, now I've got to tactically think about the angle at which I hit the nail with the hammer. I want to do some sort of actual calculation in my head rather than just rolling a billion dice and everything in front of me evaporating. So I think this is good, honestly.
Me too.
This is a good change. I think they could have gone harder. I actually think they could have nerfed Cylons more than they did, and this has left them in a way that's still playable, and the army's still
totally agree.
The same to play.
Yeah. I now think so. I was of the opinion that Bridgehead was the best guard detachment, and now I think you can actually make some arguments for what is best, and I like that. I like that it's good. That's where it should be.
I was going to ask you, man, is this now the time that mechanized assault can win a GT?
Oh, baby. Is it go time? It's my favorite.
I like mechanized assault.
Me too.
I think it's good.
I think it's good too. Legitimately, I think it's really good. I think it's so janky, awesome, fun, and they have the +1 to wound. So they are just like where Bridgehead was.
Yeah, okay, all right, that's it. Find a GT where no one good's going, and I'm going to play mechanized assault.
I'll give you the whole army. I'll give you the whole army. Let's do it.
Done. Let's go.
Black Templars unchanged. Blood Angels, actually, so they saw reductions in pretty much every form of Death Company, with the exception of the Walking Death Company Captain. Death Company Captain with Jump Pack is down 10 points. I love that they only cost a Jump Pack at 5 points. Death Company Captain, 70 points. Death Company Captain with Jump Pack, 75. Hilarious. Death Company Marines are down 1 point per model for 5, and then 2 points per model for 10. So 85 and 160. And then Death Company Marines with bolt rifles, so interceptors, down 1 point per 5, and the same 2 points per 10. So down 20 points, 160 for them. And then lastly, we have 1 increase. Rage Fueled Warrior, the sustain hits 3, BS, kill everything in the world. Captain enhancement continues its meteoric rise and is now up by another 10 points to 35. Still take it.
I think busted. So, right? Like
busted, man.
To be honest, right, this is probably one of those enhancements that can almost like keep going up. It's almost like Bitcoin. No one knows where it's going to stop, but people are still going to keep buying it, right? Like, I feel like it's an enhancement that lets you just destroy whatever you touch,
dude. I've seen full HP Canis Rexes be one shot by this guy, and it was overkilled. just ridiculous. I mean, that is a lot of 6s on dev wounds and stuff like that. But yeah, it's wild what this dude can do. Once it crosses the 50-point mark, we'll talk about its worth. But right now at 35, still busted.
Yeah, I reckon.
Demons, mate. Why?
Yeah, so again, I'm not sure what the order of your release is going to be here, but there is a new Demons index that does update some data sheets. So that does play into these points costs. I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure if this is coming out first but
this will be first. I always do the MFM and the Balance Slate first because it's the most relevant piece, and then I pare it down from there. It's likely Demons are next week.
Yeah, so keep that in mind that like some of these data sheets have changed a little bit. The first one is that Be'lakor is plus 50 points. I don't remember seeing anything on his data sheet that changed to make him worth plus 50 points. Maybe there is, and I've just forgotten. But Be'lakor is plus 50 points.
It's probably because he's like the keystone piece of a new detachment, in which he is quite good. Well, I'm not sure he's 50 points better than he was, and I actually do not think he is. But that would be why I think they chucked him up. Do you know he gets Dark Pacts? If I read that correctly, he gets Dark Pacts.
No, I don't think he does. I think you get to keep Dark Pacts even though you don't have
if you have it.
Yeah,
it's worded. I feel like there's a paragraph missing in that detachment that actually explains how everything works. Because I'm reading it, and I'm like, huh? Anyway, I'll bring on somebody to explain that crap to me.
Yeah, that's not my job this week. For once, someone else can talk about it.
Next week's job.
Yeah. The Contorted Epitome is plus 20 points. Don't take that. Fiends are plus 5 for a 3-man, plus 10 in a 6-man. The data sheet ability did change. Yeah. The combat profile is essentially still the same, so they're fine for that. But obviously, the slash detachment's kind of dead, so it is what it is. Flamers are down 10 points per 3. I don't know why. Significant. Apparently, I guess no one else was winning games with Zench. So cool. That's a bargain to me. 130 points for 6 Flamers with a 4+ invuln is
so good. Like multi-wound, 4+ invuln, long reach, good gun, amazing.
Yeah, like they're just really good, even in like non-scintillating. Like they're actually plug them into Plague Legion even, and just have them as a thing with a 4+ invuln that can Overwatch. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Flesh Hounds are up a point a model. The Great Unclean one is plus 20. There is a significant data sheet change that will sort of explain that.
Yeah, I mean, we can mention it here if you want to.
Oh, yeah, well, look, so look, he's losing the Filmo Pain, and he is giving a +1 toughness aura.
so much better.
He's T13 now. All those strength 12 guns that were, bullying him with him on 5s. But +1 toughness aura on Plague Bearers goes to T6. It doesn't matter that much, but like there are breakpoints on a lot of different data sheets that are quite good. It's pretty helpful, I think. Nurglings are -5 per 3, so they are -15 on a 9-man. I'm pretty sure that like 80 Nurglings or something won a GT or something recently, right? When people whinging about that and saying it wasn't cool, I don't know. But Nurglings are cheaper now. That guy will be absolutely wetting his pants in excitement.
One dude, so happy.
Yeah, Rodigus is +20. Screamers are down 5 per 3. I don't know. Maybe like I should have just waited to play Scintillating Legion.
Dude,
like the whole army's gone down 1,000,000 points.
I thought Screamers were freaking excellent units before.
Nah, this is probably fair. This is fair. They were too expensive, honestly. You're paying
it felt bad because you were forced to take them, especially in Scintillating, because you're like, I don't have a melee model unless I take Screamers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're probably pointed appropriately now. 80 for 3, I think is pretty appropriate. I felt like paying, 170 for 6 felt like it was too much, but hey, it is what it is. Shalaxi's down 45, so the Monster Mash list does end up essentially like for like with the Be'lakor change.
Yeah.
She's down 45. She does lose the Filmo Pain.
And she loses
the rerolls. You've got to pick a character now. It's much worse.
Correct. So much worse.
She is not a great data sheet anymore.
I reckon she could have gone down 100, dude. Straight up.
Honestly, you're probably right. Yeah.
She lost that much juice. Yeah.
I'm also surprised normal keepers didn't go down, because normal keepers 290 and they lost the Filmo Pain as well.
Correct, man. I don't know why. Like, it's crazy to me. All right. Last one.
And then the mask is +10. I also don't know why. It's probably the worst of the lone ops. It's okay in in Legion of Excess or in old Legion of Excess, I guess. But I would always rather have the changeling for less points, even like in any detachment, I think. So that's kind of weird. I don't really get that one. And then the only other change is the Endless Gift has gone up 15 points. It's now 45. So a GUO with the Endless Gift is now 295 points. That's really getting up there.
That's a toughness 13 4-up involved.
It is. It's very
feel no pain. 4-up involved, 4-up feel no pain. That's things just like I think that's fair. The points increases because it is just such a more model now.
So look, this is all quite a lot of change.
Yeah,
I think when you look at this holistically with the Slanesh changes to Legion of Excess, that army is not a thing anymore.
No,
it's
deleted.
Just not playable. Yeah. I think that Plague Legion is a thing.
Very playable.
I think that somehow, against all odds, Scintillating Legion might be the best demons now.
Dude,
which is kind of funny. But that's kind of where I think this lands. I don't know.
Yeah.
You've played a few demon players. What do you think, man?
I kind of agree with you. I think Scintillating or Plague is the best way to roll. It's surprising that like Khorne got literally nothing here. Like Khorne got slightly worse. Flesh Hounds went up, and you were taking a bunch of Flesh Hounds. But like they got probably the best of, apart from the GUO. The things that got durability increases by armor saves in Khorne was probably the most significant change that came from the data sheet differences that I've seen so far. I haven't had a full extensive, Demons deep dive yet, but a lot of things got 3-up saves in like crushes and the Floodthirst and things like that. So, but I still think Plague Legion just because you got freaking toughness 10 beasts. Lol. They'll just giggle now at the multi-melters where they used to get rolled by them. And now, GUO's T13. And Scintillating dude just gets like another unit in its army, like another unit and a half.
Yeah, well, it kind of does, right? Like the points were really tight on that army before, and now you can drop something and actually have enough points to buy something. It's pretty interesting.
How many points did your points did your Uprising list go down?
40, 50, 60, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Super major winning list, down 60 points. Well,
almost enough to get the changeling in there, which would have been really nice, to be honest.
I'm happy you did it.
Yeah.
All right. Chaos Knights. We saw 10 points knocked off the Desecrator, 15 points knocked off the Despoiler, and the freaking Knight Tyrant got 30 points down. And do you know what? None of it matters. Yay, War Dogs. Yay, nothing will change.
At the rate we're going, right? Like, there's a points drop to big knights every 3 months.
True.
I reckon every single 3 months. An inflection point where they become good. It might be next year, but
Well, I played a Rampager to a GT, a teams event, 2-dayer at 380 with an enhancement. And in the games where it felt good, it felt really good. And the games where it felt bad, I wish I had like anything else in my army. But that shows you where they're at. When the going is good, it's a flat track bully. It's absolutely flat track bully. When you're playing into a green matchup, the Rampager just makes it more green. And any red in the land, the Rampager helps you absolutely not. But how cheap do they need to make a freaking like Despoiler, like a Desecrator? I think these things need to be closer to 300 points to be takeable.
Yeah, it's really hard, right? Because if you go too far on this and they become too cheap, it's a massive problem all of a sudden for everyone, right? The game just becomes how many night killing weapons can you pack, because it's a massive problem.
But right now, 2 Carnivores at 280 points is better than a Rampager at 380, in my opinion. But now that I've played both of them a bunch, I would rather 2 Carnivores that are 100 points cheaper, and I think they are better at playing the game of 40k than a single Rampager. And you can say the same for any of the Daka Knights and the Brigand. So until they're like closer to double, it's not even a question to me. The fact that I can take nearly 3 Carnivores for the price of 1 Rampager. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chaos Spacer Marines, man. You'll go.
Yeah, man. Sorry, my computer is just having a slight meltdown, but we are all good. So, Chaos Predator Annihilators are up 5 points. So that was fun while it lasted. They kept going down, and I guess we've obviously found the point where people start taking, to take them. So up they go. We got Forge Fiends down 10 and a Disco Lord down 15.
Doesn't really change much, does it?
This doesn't really do anything. Forge Fiends have some problems. Realistically, they are just worse Vindicators. There is obviously there are situations where they shoot better, but like they are just worse Vindicators. They hurt themselves. The blast profile is cool when you're shooting infantry units, but you have a lot of things that kill the same things. And Vindicators kind of kill tanks and bigger infantry units just as well. Like they're just worse. The Disco Lord is a bad data sheet, unfortunately. I think they're afraid of making it good because it used to be too good. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I remember.
And don't even get me started. I've got lists in my Battle Scribe from back when Battle Scribe was a thing for the Flawless Blade, what was it called? Flawless Legion, Flawless Host. Yeah. That one, that Disco Lord with the exploding fours with plus 3 to hit or whatever it was.
What a world that was.
What a time. These changes mean absolutely nothing. They don't change the army at all.
Dark Angels are in fact unchanged. Death Guard, I will let you guys know right now. If you had a Predator, if you have an army that has a Predator, likely it's gone up 5 points. In the Death Guard's case, the Annihilator went up 5 points and the Destructor went up 10 points. Mythic Bloodhaulers are down 5 points per model. So 5, 10, and 15 depending. So 255 for the full triplet. Deathwatch got an interesting change, which I think is good.
Yeah, this one I think is very positive. So the only change is the Terminator unit, so the actual Terminators, not the kill team. The 5-man is up 10, and the 10-man is down 10. Say 10 any more times.
I like it.
The spamming 5s with 3 rocket launchers and Thunderhammers was a bit rude.
It's silly. It could have gone up more. I believe it's still incredible value. Drakari witches are down 1 point per model. Kabalites are down 1 point per model. Apart from that, exactly the same. Oh boy, your Renegade, your Real Space Raiders or Sky Splinter saved 20 points to spend on enhancement that you don't want to take. Fantastic, good for you. Thank you, Drakari. Hope you're happy.
I did see in the Drakari Facebook page someone leaked massive changes incoming for Drakari, and I was like, oh yeah. And then I saw this, and I'm like, oh, it's pretty funny.
It's pretty funny. So massive, such change. Emperor's Children, I just have the points that they released in the MFM. Like, they already released these points. So nothing has changed here. They're all exactly the same.
Oh, these are all this is the current one that's published, right? This is the same?
I do believe it's exactly the same. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, Fiends went down 70 points in this. That surprises me. I may have to go back and check if this is the same now. I'm confused. Anyway, you tell me about GSC. I'm going to do a little comparison.
Yeah, I'm looking at it and it looks like it's right. There's only one change in GSC. So Neophyte Hybrids in the 20 went up 15 points. So really targeting the, I can't remember which attachment it's called, but the one where you got the multiple units of 20 that go up when they get shot at. The one that Innes likes playing. The one that's good. That unit is a bit annoying when you've got access to like regrows and going up. So you get shot, you go up into deep strike, you come back down, you res, you charge things, you put 40 OC on their objective, and then your opponent's Night Army cries.
Yeah.
It
does look like it's the same. So easy done. Grey Knights saw a single change in Inceptors going down Interceptors going down 1 point per model, which is nice. It's fine.
Yeah, it's good.
Interceptors were a fantastic unit. They're like super JPIs. Imperial Agents saw nowhere near enough changes because their Collectus Assassin went down 15 points and still remains the most untakeable assassin. Yay. Success. It also went down the same amount of points for is taken as an ally. And that is such a swing and a miss for throwing Imperial Agents a bone in this entire thing, in the Slate and the MFM, that I just got to assume GW doesn't give a crap about this faction.
So, again, I think you got to look at it like really, this army is designed to be an ally faction. It's designed to put all the allies in one place so it's easy to balance and don't get lost. I understand some people wrongly think that it's an actual army, but it's not. It's a collection of allies, right? Really, that's what this is. And, it's great to take pieces of it and stick it in the Space Marine army, stick it in the Guard army, stick it in the Knights army, whatever. it's very hard to balance an army of, primarily single models or small kill team style things that are borrowing data sheets from 3 other factions. Right, I've got Sisters, Grey Knights, and
Deathwatch.
well, there's more. There's Deathwatch and there's Assassins. It's like 5 armies, right? It's very hard to balance that as a single army. It's very hard to make that a good, cohesive, playable army when it's designed just to be pieces to stick in something else.
They could at least try, though, right? No, that's fine. I get you. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, they could, but I'd probably prefer if they stay as allies. I think it makes things easier, right? But I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Imperial Knights, the Castellan and the Valiant are both down 30 points, which is kind of cute on the Castellan because you get that Mysterious Guardian is 25 points. So, it's just barely over 500 for the uppy Danny Castellan, which is a pretty funny play. I still don't think it's great, but it's, 30 points cheaper now. Votann is unchanged. Necrons are practically unchanged. I think DDAs just went up 10. That's the only thing I can see. Nothing went down. Yeah, fair. I mean, I think that's fine. I don't think Necrons are ruining anyone's day at the moment. And DDAs were kind of the most offensive part of their build. Actually, they could have probably taxed a few of the synergy pieces of the Unkillable Silent King.
Yeah, look, I'm also not of the opinion that Shatterstar is a problem.
It's
right?
It's not. No, what it is a feels bad, and G-Dub doesn't like feel bads.
Yeah, it's 100% a mid-table stomper, and it does feel bad when you lose because your opponent's DDA is high rolled. But that's an army that wins games and not tournaments. You know what I mean? It's an army that wins individual games, but it doesn't string lots of wins together.
It's not a top. Yeah, it's not top of the meta. It's a B plus to into the middle of A detachment. And I agree. I think it feels real bad when you just oh wow, I brought the spoon to the Silent King fight, and the Silent King's just going to run through my army. That's fine. It's a Silent King. Angron could have probably done the same thing. I'm fine with that.
For sure.
Orcs, mate. Tell us.
Just plus 10 on shock attack guns and plus 15 on tank busters. And I'll be honest, you still take them.
It doesn't touch the sides, mate. Doesn't touch the sides.
And again, we're alluding to things that are coming out in the coming weeks. Tank busters are good.
Yeah,
tank
baby.
Busters and shock attack guns are very good.
Yeah.
They also upped Met Captain. I believe it was 10 points. Yes, it is. So Met Captain is up to 45 in tactical. If you're still playing tactical, that's you still probably pay for that.
Agreed. If you're playing tactical, you are committed to playing the Met Captain. So you're just going to absorb those points. I mean, you lose a unit of Gretchen pretty much for what? It's 25. So it's 75. 85. You've gone up for the 3 shock attack guns, 3 tank busters, and the Met Captain. That's not insignificant.
It does. It does hurt that army. Again, I was messing around with tactical a little bit in the last month or so, and I found that I always had this awkward number of extra points left over at the end, and this kind of just eats at those, and I no longer have an extra unit, and I feel like the army is still really good. So I wouldn't be too worried about that.
Nah. Not at all. All right, Space Marines. Ballista's Dreadnought up 10 points. Absolutely valid. Probably needed it. Blade Guard are down 10 and 20 points, respectively. I actually quite like 6 Blade Guard at 160. I think that's looking pretty attractive. Devastator Centurions went down freaking 20 points per 3. So they're down 40 points to reflect the fact that you can no longer uppy down him in Vanguard. But they totally forgot you can uppy down him in Deathwatch, didn't they? They just completely blanked.
I've thought about this, right? It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
The Deathwatch army is so critically built around that strat for other units. You can't afford to use it on the sense. What this does show you, though, is how certain data sheets are costed for 1 detachment.
Correct.
And that's my biggest gripe with 10th edition, right? It's a shame that they need to cost that much just because they're good in Vanguard. But let's be real, DevSense and Gladius were never, were never worth 300. And what were they before? 370 for 6? Never.
Yeah. And that's my problem with I suppose this is just a thing that we're definitely going to be looking back at in the closing, year, weeks of 10th edition. The siloed nature of the game. How you choose your detachment and then your units auto-populate into that detachment almost has the fact that I'm of the opinion the only way to do this style of edition for multiple years of multiple editions is to have units cost different points in different detachments. That's kind of the only way. Like,
Yeah,
I
for sure.
do
And
not. Yeah,
it's hard,
and
man.
that's very
Yeah.
hard. It's very hard, man. But we've got these feel bads where like dev sense were literally untakeable in every other detachment, and now they're not takeable at all. And like you could say that for like 100, 200 other models in the game.
Yeah. It's I don't know what the solution is, right? Because we can't sit here and knock GW for not having enough flavor in certain detachments or whatever it might be, and then
10th edition is excellent. Like it's been a great edition. Yeah,
for sure. It's just this is one of those places where it's so obvious they were pointed for one detachment and they weren't playable anywhere else.
Yeah,
and I don't know. It's a bit of a feels bad if you're someone who isn't just meta chasing. If you're someone who's like building the models that you like or using the collection that you have, right? Like, it's a feel bad.
Absolutely is. Company heroes are up 10 points. Totally fine. Marnius Calgar takes another hit for what I think is the third MFM in a row and went up another 10 points. He's now 210 for Calgar and Co. Still very good, but man, he's getting up there. 210 is a lot. And then we have both the Predators went up, the same thing. The Annihilator's up 5, Destructor's up 10. Vindicator is up 10 to 185, and the Whirlwind is up 10 as well. So the only unit that went down was Blade Guard. Blade Guard, Blade Guard, and the Dev Sense, of course. But, they no longer exist, so whatever. And they dropped the Fire Discipline by 15 points because it is absolute, not what it was, and it was still overly costed like crap. And then in the Librarius Conclave, Fusillade is up 20 points to 35. That is the one that gave Anti-Monster, Anti-Gear Vehicle 5+, and was probably one of the best enhancements in the game. So that's totally fine. That went up that many points.
What was that guy? Did you just put him in Stern Guard? Was that the play?
No, it was Stern Guard, and you're just like, lol, dev, dead. Like, cool, 30 more. I just did 30 devs to you, mate. Get out of here.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense. You still take it. Doesn't change. Doesn't touch the sides for that, but you should pay some more for it.
I love doesn't touch the sides. It's such a good saying.
It's so good, dude. It's so good. It is
pretty good.
Yeah, doesn't touch the sides, man. It's got so. Never mind. Space Force moving on quickly. Unchanged. We're going to
tell me about Tau, Adam. Tell me about the world-changing changes to Tau.
Yeah. Oh boy, Kroot Lone Spear down 10. Kroodox Rampages relevant. This will be relevant to some, but down 10 points per 3. So down 20 points. 170 for 6 Rampages. Look. They need to go down some more, in my opinion, because I want them to be cheap because they're the only thing that does what it does, like I said about the Banshees. But yeah, this is going to be relevant to somebody, and that person's going to be real happy, and everyone else is going to be like, yeah, whatever. Tell me about T-Suns, because they surprisingly have a lot of green. They haven't had a lot of green on this thing for like a year.
Yeah, well, I was told Team Australia famously took 10,000 Suns Terminators and no Magnus to WTC 2 years ago, and I've been told I wasn't allowed to tell anyone about the T-Sun changes because Terminators went down. Mutalith Vortex Beasts are up 5. It's fine. They're still very good. Scarab Occult Terminators are down 2 points a model. It's down 20 for a 10-man.
Yeah, dude.
The 20-man Cultist unit that you can only take in T-Suns now, I believe it's the last surviving 20-man Cultist unit, is down 10 points for the 20. The 2 Predators are up 5, as they are everywhere else. The Terminator Sorcerer is down 10. The Vindicator is up 10. And then Enlightened and Zangors are both down 10 points for the large unit. So the 6-man Enlightened and then the 20-man Zangor unit are both down 10. If you are that way inclined and you want to run 30,000 Suns Terminators, look, the army does save 90 points.
You saved 90 points. Joy to the world.
It's not nothing. You know what I'm saying? I don't see how this functionally changes the faction whatsoever.
Doesn't change anything, mate. Doesn't change anything. It's nice. Sure, if you want to play the Termies, it's nice. That's about it. Tyranids is up next. Exocrine is up 5 points. Hive Tyrant is down 10 points. That's actually significant. Everyone's taking a Hive Tyrant. Neurolictor is down 10 also because I think they realized that the Neurolictor was just getting completely outclassed by the cheaper and kind of better regular Lictor. It's usually like 2 to 3 regular Lictors and maybe 1 Neurolictor at times if you want to do some extra, Battle Shock shenanigans. Because, suffice to say, the Lictor is freaking still 20 points cheaper than a Nerelictor. Trigon is down 10. Tyrannofex is up 10. And yeah, that is it for the Tyranids. Pretty much, once again, not really changing any needles here. It's totally fine. I was of the opinion the Tyrannofex was dropping off anyway. I'm still very keen on the Exocrine, but I just feel like the Tyrannofex is running out of targets in the game. I think Rogal Dawns are the last like big Tyrannofex targets still out there, worth trying to have them in for, and everyone else has kind of taken their big models out of their armies to save them from Eldar. So yeah, I think the Tyrannofex was on the way out anyway, so I think that's totally fine. It went up. Anything you see here, mate?
No, that's pretty astute. Like the Exocrine up 5 is probably the only change that matters, but
it's if you took 2 Exocrines,
the Tyrant down 10 kind of like saves that
exactly
that invasion fleet list that's the same as it has been for the whole edition. Like that army just gained 10 on the Tyrant and then lost 10 on the 2 Exos. It's the same thing, really.
It's a wash. Yeah, absolute wash.
Yeah.
World Eaters, mate. What's going on here?
Look, both Demon Princes are down 15 points, and you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't really do anything. However, the Juggernaut Lord is down 20 to 80. And the reason this is significant is because you can play the army with one character, and you've now got a new cheapest character.
Yeah.
So I think that makes difference. I don't know. World Eaters players can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that makes difference to the math, and you might be able to get something, that awkward list that had like 30 points spare you couldn't spend. Well, maybe you can now. I don't know. I don't know the math. I don't play World Eaters, but I know that that's a cheap character in an army that doesn't really have cheap characters.
And dude, 80 points for his data sheets.
He's good, isn't he? He actually punches reasonably well, right?
Dude, his T6, 7 wounds, 2 up, 4 up, OC2, and then he's got 7 attacks at 612, and then a Lance, 4 more attacks at 612. So he's got 11 attacks at 612. And
it's a Jugger meta. It's actually a Juggernaut
Jugger meta. Yeah. And of course, you can enhance that in a myriad of ways. But yeah, like just want to go trade out and smush something on an objective for 80 points. Dude's fine. Dude's totally fine.
I'm calling it. Jugger meta.
Jugger meta. All right, that brings us to the end of the MFM and the end of the episode. All right, MFM-wise, what would you give it out of 10?
Ooh, worse than the data slate, I guess 6.
Yeah, I think 6. If we're giving the slate 7, I give this 6.
There's some weird stuff in this, man. The demons changes perplex me. There's stuff they've hit and there's stuff they've left alone. Like the Eldar changes don't really make a lot of sense.
Nah.
But there's some stuff obviously good, right? But like I'm being overly critical here because I don't want them to go and overbuff things and just like knee-jerk reaction make things too good. But some of this stuff is a bit confusing for me.
Yeah, I would have really liked to see a more holistic hits to guard. I would have seen, a guard. I would like to see more reorganizing for guard, more hits to the good stuff and buffs to the bad stuff. Chaos Demons make no sense to me. Literally, the only changes that made sense to me was the GUOs going up. Fair enough. Yeah. They got like 20% better. Fair. They went up 20 points. That was the only one that really made sense. Yeah, sure. They dropped the points on the big knights again for Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights. Who gives an absolute crap? CSM, nowhere near enough. There's a bunch of stuff they could have put down here. Havoc's 130. Sorry, 125. Cool. Knock off 5 points. Give us something. Harkin World Claimer. Make him free. He's awful. Who cares?
I wrote a list with him once. I almost ran
I remember. There's a bunch. Yeah, this is just like them being like, the game's in a good place. Let's not F with it too much. And I'm okay with that. But yeah, it's not going to change the needle. So it gets an above pass for me. It's a 6 out of 10. It did relatively, like you said, I believe make the game better. Like in hindsight, the only thing that was in the meta that is now not is Slanesh Demons, and Sisters were not in the meta and probably now are. So I feel like we lost one, we got one. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I think. I mean, look, all the guard changes. Again, I think they don't just the army is still the army. I think that's still. I think Bridgehead is still Bridgehead, and let's be real. If we're going into a meta where lots of people are playing Eldar, you're going to be pretty happy if you're playing Bridgehead.
I think you're still
very pretty good into Eldar.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
All right, my dude, that's going to bring us to the end of the episode. We're going to go over and record part 2, where we're going to talk about biggest winners and losers, what the new meta may look like, and we're going to be talking that with all the full context of all the extra detachment indexes and all those things put into place. And please stay with us for the next probably 2 weeks. We'll have more coverage of this stuff with the demons, and then I'll have a triplet episode with all the new detachments getting covered on the same one, most likely. But Soli, what would you like to say before we check out?
Nah, man, just thanks for having me on once again. I love getting on here and talking all things exciting 40K developments, and we'll do a bit more over on part 2, I reckon. What is that? How is that for a little?
It was fabulous.
That's it.
Yeah,
I got you at least 2 Patreons from that.
You did. Professional. It might even touch the sides.
It's a conversation I've had with myself before. You rock bottom, cut open, endured. Let some demons in, let her live with them. The cycle starts again, self-doubt creeping in.